guys, it's Jennifer from the Shooter's Mindset, and we are live with episode 437. Stop laughing, Corey. Uh, we have our co-hosts tonight, one of which is laughing at me in the intro. Corey, how's it going?
I missed you guys. It's going good.
You know you miss us when you don't make the show. Did you shoot like 58 matches this weekend?
Last weekend was two. This weekend was one with a training class.
Very good, very good.
Yeah.
And our other co-host, Greg, how's it going?
It's going all right. How about y'all?
Going well. Did you shoot any matches?
I did not, but I did ride a bicycle.
Nice.
I ran a
Was
5K.
it just like the last time?
Well, besides for the fact that my shoe fell apart like 5 minutes into the ride, so it was a bit of a challenge.
Sorry.
I ran a 5K and we got to run on the runway of the Augusta airport, which is not a huge airport, but it's big enough.
It was
So
pretty
we got
cool.
to
There were
like
some Chinooks
actually,
there today.
huh?
There were some Chinooks taken off from there today. I saw those when I was leaving work.
There were no Chinooks that day, but we did get to actually run like 2 miles of the race was on the runway out and back. It was kind of cool. I didn't realize quite how long the runway was until I had to run all the way down it and could see how far I had to run. And then I was like, that's a really long way.
It feels a lot shorter doing like 200, 300 miles an hour, or whatever it is when you land, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't feel very long then. And our guest of the hour tonight, who everyone really wants to hear from, we have Cole Cushman with us. How's it going, Cole?
It is going great, Jennifer. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we're having you on tonight to talk a little bit about your gun and trophy insurance that you have. So for anybody that doesn't know you, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself and how you kind of got into hunting and shooting and what you like to do with in the shooting world.
Yeah, really was born into an insurance family, and before that, I was raised in the woods. Dad took me hunting for the first time when I was probably 13, and just got addicted like most people do. And out of college, started work for the family insurance agency. Did that for a number of years, and till one day when I was about either to leave insurance and go become an elk guide or buy the agency from my dad. He had this great idea that, let's start an online distributed insurance company for guns. And I kind of started to laugh a little bit. This guy who, thinks a PDF is a flash drive, and he wanted to start a online, digital for guns from scratch. And he said, well, yeah, my guns are way too expensive to insure, and there's a lot of people like me. And that was 8 years ago, kind of the start of it. And gone from zero to several thousand clients in this, and over $350 million worth of insured guns, and have some of the best clientele that I could ever ask for. It's truly a blend of passion and profession here, and love going into the office every day doing it. Looking forward to getting into little specifics on it, but that's the long and short.
That's awesome. So hunting is your big thing.
Yeah, it's gotten a little more into trap shooting, just because that's what I've had Dad do in his retirement. When he's not answering the phone for the program, he's out shooting traps. So yeah, I like to spend as much time as possible with him and do that a good bit. But between a 10-month-old and a little bit of hunting I still get to do, I usually go out and shoot trap with him.
That's awesome. So you told us a little bit about how y'all came up with the idea, but how long has it been up and running?
It's been, we're in our 8th year now doing this. We write it, have an exclusive through a company called Hanover Insurance Company, who's our partner in this. And, we created a program, and that's designed to cover our collections, and shooters like us. We found that, historically, firearm insurance was expensive. It was like insuring jewelry. cost anywhere between $1 and $2 per $100 or per 100 in value, which it got to the point where is unaffordable to carry the insurance on it. So it's kind of out of necessity that we started it, and try to fix what a lot of insurance companies do wrong as far as the paperwork and the process. We've dumbed it down to where it's about 75% less than just about every other insurance company who offers gun insurance, and we can put coverage in force in a few minutes with almost no questions asked. Haven't had a rate increase in 8 years, so it speaks to the profitability of it. Have yet to find a bad online review yet, and shooters are some of the toughest critics out there. So clients are our biggest marketing avenue, just through word of mouth, and keep treating people the way we want to be treated, and it's really taken off.
So how big has it kind of grown to? I mean, I don't know if you know numbers off the top of your head of like how many clients y'all have, or.
Yeah, we've just shy of 5,000 clients now, and it grows, about 4 clients a day we add in it right now, just organically through, people reading it on Shotgun World or AR15.com or any of the other, hundreds of gun blogs out there. And now it's almost a bragging right for a lot of guys, where they'll go to a gun club or shoot and say, "Hey, who are you using for gun insurance?" And I'm using X, Y, and Z association endorsed program. And well, I just switched to these guys. They picked up the phone and talked to me and got it done in a matter of minutes. And I saved $300-400. And it's been taken off that way, as well as some of the advertising we do. But just the organic growth is 30-35% a year, just from clients spreading the word.
That's awesome. So I know it's online. So a 2-part question as far as where all the coverage is. First, tell us, what is the website if you wanted information?
Yeah, try to make it simple. Just gunandtrophy.com. And we spend a good bit of resources and have it about as user friendly as it can get, and go through a host of FAQs, and are always happy to talk to people on the phone as well. But we try to make it simple in that we don't require lists from everyone unless a single item's over $10,000. And most gun owners don't want that information going around the internet, or someone who they just read a review of online. So we try to uphold privacy as much as possible, and keep that data confidential. We don't need to be ones who start a gun registry on our end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other question with that is, like, where is the coverage available as far as, like, is it okay for every state? If we had friends we met in Italy when we were over there doing the world championship, do you offer it to other countries, or is it just within the US?
Yeah, you have to have a US address other than Alaska and Hawaii for us to cover. Nothing against Alaska and Hawaii. The carrier just didn't have a claims presence up there and over there. So those are known as. We cover them anywhere in the world that you travel. So whether it's Africa or Italy, they're covered in transit and shipping. A lot of people buy our coverage because it's cheaper to carry it for a year than to ship it to a manufacturer or gunsmith, just the shipping cost. So it truly is a worldwide policy. We're not going to cover government seizure, whether it's our government or the Zimbabwe government.
That's fair.
Kind of like COVID, and that is one of those things that,
That's fair.
if insurers had to cover it, and for whatever reason the federales took all our guns away, and there's 400 some million guns, and there's not enough capacity in the insurance market to cover that. So
Right. Yeah.
that's one of the no-nos that we don't do. But other than that, it's an all-risk policy. Or fire, breakage, theft is one of the most common claims that we see. But we're seeing whole house fires.
Do you ever need more?
What's that?
We have a friend that had a truck fire. We bring it up often. They
That's
actually
good
put some
friendship.
scopes. Yeah, they actually put some scopes in the SHOT Show booth for it. It was quite hilarious, and Jeremy's a great guy. But sorry.
We even cover that the old boat scenario where gun was in a boat and boat sank. So
That's what happened to mine too.
but breakage, optics. I mean, a lot of guys have more money in optics than they do on their rifles, and we cover binoculars, spotting scopes, thermals, silencers, really anything that
Really?
attaches. Yep.
Thermals too.
Yeah, we even give the money for tax stamp reimbursements for NFA items.
Wow. Okay.
That's nice.
Yeah, so we try to think of everything on this and truly made it customer centric for us and for people like us at an affordable rate that's easy to deal with and that you know what you're getting, and yeah, you don't have to go anywhere else. We renew about 97% of our clients every year, which usually doesn't happen in insurance.
Yeah, that's a really good number.
Yeah. So
So guys, for everyone watching, this episode is probably going to kind of sound like a commercial, but actually, I did not have firearms insurance until just about a year ago, when I found Gun and Trophy, and it was just stupid how cheap and simple it was, and how much the company seems like it's literally built for us. Like if you're watching us where you see the video and saw Jen and Corey's reaction on their face to it covers tax stamp reimbursement and everything like that. I just want to share my personal experiences with you guys and kind of show you how easy it really is to do all this. Because I know that we have people out there that, I've been asked about it a couple of times. I know Greg Moore, if you've made it home safely, hope you're doing well. I know he was asking about it earlier this week. So we figured we'd just kind of chat about it. And so this way, instead of Cole having to answer a million calls, he can answer all of our questions here all together. So let's go into a little bit about why it's important to have this. Starting off with, I have homeowners insurance, that should cover my guns, right?
yes and no. Homeowners policy have a section C is for personal property and covers anything from your contents to furniture, clothing, electrical items, but anything that really someone would want to steal has sublimits on it for the peril of theft in particular, where jewelry, firearms, they're capped for theft usually at $2,500. Depends on the carrier. Some will go higher, but a standard unendorsed homeowners policy, you're looking at a couple $1,000 if your gun gets stolen. Even if it is covered under fire, assuming if it's still in production, if they have the right valuation terms and aren't going to give you diminished value, it's not an easy thing to deal with an insurance carrier trying to explain or justify what your gun's worth versus what they think it's worth. But more so, one of the biggest reasons to move it off is if you do have a claim. I've seen too many times where someone has a $500-600 Glock that gets stolen. They report their homeowner's insurance company, cover it, no questions asked, but they get a non-renewal notice the following year. And insurance companies are not worried about the value per se of the firearm. They're worried about the liability associated with a gun owner. A homeowner's policy covers personal liability. So they're getting tied into failure to defend the public type claims with $500,000 in liability limits that are exposed. As well as it doesn't, if you pull it off the homeowner's policy, it doesn't count against you as a claim. How many people have filed an auto accident just to see their rates go up 30-40% the next year? And then obviously price is the other thing. Is when homeowners carriers do cover it, you're typically looking at $1.25 rate per 100, where we're anywhere between 1/10 of that and 60% of that, depending on how large the collection is.
So you mentioned something, diminished valuation. Can you explain like how y'all are different from what you typically get there? Because a lot of that is a little bit technical. And
Yep.
if you haven't done a claim before, it might not matter, but it's pretty important.
Yeah. So if you read through the fine print of a homeowner's contract, all 50, 60 pages in there,
Yep.
you'll find wording that pertains to specifics at claim time for different items. A lot of carriers for guns that are no longer in production, they would fall under an antique category where they don't pay replacement costs, even if you have a replacement cost endorsement for your personal property, like most people do. They're going to pay a diminished value and an actual cash value, which they're factoring in age, wear, tear, depreciation. Yeah, even with firearms that go up in value when they're no longer in production, they're going to hit you with language that not anywhere close to whole that you think you would be at claim time.
Right.
It's just one of those things with dealing with guns and insurance companies that aren't familiar with the value of. I mean, a Colt snake gun, the difference between one that's built in the 70s versus a new model today. I mean, you're a difference of $4,000 in the valuation on it, and it's those aren't really fun conversations to have with someone who doesn't really want to be talking with you anyways. They want to get the claim closed as fast as possible. Now they've got to be educated on guns and why this is worth what it is. But that's the devil's in the details of any insurance contract, and that's something to be aware of if you think you're fine on a homeowner's policy.
And so we've also discussed traveling before. And obviously I've been in an accident with 2 precision rifles in my passenger seat before. I'm glad they were okay, especially since one of them was not mine, and the person that owns it is very, very scary.
Let somebody babysit your gun, and what happens?
I'm sorry. It survived. But so it covers it if it's in my car too, or anywhere really, right?
It's worldwide. It covers it. In transit, we'll cover breakage, where we've had a guy leave a shotgun on the back of a truck and left to shoot and pulled away, and next thing he knows, he's thinking somewhere between Des Moines, Iowa, and his house back in Ohio. But yeah, we cover breakage on the guns itself. We cover that type of loss if it's truly a fluke like that. Our biggest limitation that we have, which our competitors have as well, is for the peril of theft while in a vehicle. In order for us to cover theft from a vehicle, we need a visible sign of forced entry, so a broken window. We remove that in 2 places. One, while it's in the custody of a carrier for hire. So if it's being shipped via FedEx or an airline, that exclusion doesn't apply. Cover theft regardless of if a vehicle is unlocked or not. The other place we remove it is while at a shooting event. So if you're at a gun club or a shoot and it's stolen from your vehicle, it's covered regardless of forced entry or not. San Antonio at the Sporting Clays Nationals a couple years ago, there were 7 or 8 trucks that were broken into, high-dollar shotguns taken from them. Again, whether there's a broken window or not, they're covered because they're at a shooting event. But if it's in the driveway of your house and the gun's in the car, there has to be a sign of forced entry for us to cover it. Mudroom of your house with the door wide open, you're fine for theft. But while in a vehicle, there's got to be a forced entry unless it's being shipped or unless you're at a shooting event.
Okay, so that makes sense. Yeah.
Mhm.
So this scenario has happened where someone has shipped a pretty high dollar stock and it was being shipped to a guy to airbrush, right? It comes back, FedEx, UPS, whoever has decided to roll down the ramp, and it's shattered. Does the gun insurance cover the stock? Because we play in precision rifles, right? And so the stock, I mean, it's 2 bolts and you've got your barreled action out.
I'm gonna sound a little bit like a broken record here, but under our definitions of what's covered under this program, stocks, grips, bayonets, flashlights that attach to a covered firearm, barrel mounted suppressors, sights, scopes, spotting scopes, magnifying or non-magnifying optics, red dot or reflex sights, holographic sights, lasers, other optics designed for aiming or sighting of firearms, slings, holsters, cases, or boxes designed for the carry or transport of firearms, bipods and tripods designed for the use of firearms, magazines, clips, links, and other devices designed for feeding ammunition into a firearm, shotgun chokes, sub-gauge tubes as binoculars. So it's pretty extensive list of, yeah, yes, we're covering the parts of a gun. What we don't cover, we don't cover ammo, we don't cover reloading equipment, and we don't cover shooting glasses.
Okay. So for guys not familiar with the collector's world, magazines being listed, small things like that, bayonets, really start to matter when you're talking collector's items and matching. So you can kind of tell when you talk to someone, when they know, like they're talking to a guy that knows AK Bakelite mags. Yes, it's a little weird, but they know what they're talking about.
Yeah, it all adds up. I mean, optics, even binoculars and spotting scopes. I mean, a lot of in the precision world. I mean, how much more invested in optics than firearms in it? I mean, how we hog hunters that have $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 thermals that we cover.
Yep, on an AR and 7.62 by 39.
So this
it's a great point.
This is an odd question, but it says gun and trophy. So I'm going to ask this for my friend that maybe won a trophy in Italy that got broken before it got home. So if say that I was a really good shooter, we're going to pretend, and say that I had trophy insurance with you, and then I went somewhere and I won a trophy, and I haven't had time to call you and tell you I have another trophy, but on the way home, TSA decides to play with it and breaks it. Is it covered, or do you have to like report each trophy to you?
I would congratulate you on the trophy that you won, but the trophies that we cover is taxidermy or hunt replacement cost. We're the only one, or there's one other program, Safari Club International does it as well, where we insure taxidermy as like a painting or fine art, where we have set values for just about every species that can be hunted across the world, that if your house burns down, which we've had, or flood damage, wind damage, breakage, we pay based on the set values that we give for each species. And it turns out to be about 75% of what you had into the hunt when you start adding up airfare, day rate, tags, dip and pack. Giving an example, $4,000 or $5,000 for a kudu head. And the list is, we have both full body mount sizes that we give, and then others. And we don't require you to go back on the hunt. It's just, imagine a painting gets destroyed. And the way we look at it is hunters have more time, money, and certainly emotional attachment to these than any painting they can put in the wall. I mean, everyone's it's a lifetime of memories. And on a typical homeowner's policy, your house burns down, you might get a couple $100 per head, where what's that going to do to recreate a lifetime of memories? And that coverage is there. If you want to purchase it, we're doing the same policy, it's the same rates. to make you whole or on that financial investment that you had into them. If you want to go back and retake the hunts, by all means do it, but we're not in the hunt booking business. We're not going to do it for you, but go take your dad on that moose hunt that he's always wanted to go on. So we've got some pretty cool trophy rooms that are insured through this program.
Yeah,
Sorry,
and
Jason,
that's a
I'm trying to
fantastic
get
point.
your trophy covered.
Jason.
Oh, so I want to hit a couple live questions right now. Andrew asked two. Number one, and you kind of gave us the answer to this before the show. How are you so much cheaper than adding this on to the homeowners insurance? Because it just seems too good to be true.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a long-winded answer, but I'll try to cover the main points on it. The first and biggest thing is, a shocker, but gun owners are pretty trustworthy individuals that treat property better than any other insured out there. Again, we haven't had a rate increase in 8 years in this, and we charge 75% less. If the carrier wasn't making money on it, they would get off of it tomorrow. So it's profitable is the first thing. Second, we changed the distribution on this. Typically, a homeowner's carrier, if you want to add a gun, you'll email your agent. They'll email you back, say, well, why is this gun $7,000? I need an appraisal for it or a bill of sale. You get that. 2 weeks later, you send that off. Then they send it to the carrier for endorsement issuance. They mail that out. You get a paper copy of it showing that your new gun's covered. You send in a check to them, have the check cashed. It's very labor intensive where we send everything via email. We don't mail out copies of coverage forms. Do it all electronically. And we remove a lot of the red flags that a lot of the carriers charge. And probably the biggest, is at least in my opinion, is because it is so profitable and they've been able to do it for 50, 60, 100 years to treat it like jewelry with no questions asked. It's guns are subsidizing the other lines that are not profitable, jewelry, auto, where it's I have the numbers and the actuarial data for 8 years to prove it. It's a very profitable class of business because gun owners treat their property well. It's a great demographic to insure.
Exactly. I don't put this rifle on my finger and go downtown drinking with it on, or
I mean, you're looking at selfishly. I mean, how long did it take you to get that gun shooting to a way where you're halfway confident in it? And it doesn't do you any good to have to go replace it, even if it is a newer gun. I mean, the time it takes to retune it.
exactly with how that thing's set up, I don't ever want to replace it.
Yeah.
Travis asked about coverage for NFA items.
Yeah, like I said, we do cover NFA items, thermals, optics, anything legal. We do not cover guns that are owned illegally. So
And you laugh.
you're SOL there if you're violating federal laws there and they take your guns for it. We don't cover government seizure.
And there is coverage for in addition to covering the value of the gun, you also will cover the tax stamps as well, right?
Correct. We do have a sub limit on it where I think the max we'll give and anyone claims $1,000, but at what's $200, I think a tax stamp now, where if you have 5 NFA items taken, you're getting the money back for tax stamps on it.
Cool. And then Andrew asked kind of a good question. And he said, I know we can look at the website, but how do we make sure that everything is covered? So let's say for the first time, I'm like watching the show and I'm like, all right, I need this insurance. This is great. What do I need to do to make sure that I get coverage for everything, for my guns, for my optics, and all that?
Yep. So we have 2 ways of covering guns under the program. You can do a combination of both. The rate's the same and the coverage is the same both ways. Uh, any single item that's over 10,000, we have to schedule. You got to provide make, model, brief description if there's a bunch of customizations, serial number, and value that you want to insure. So that's going to be a stated amount, and you've got to itemize those items over 10. Anything under
Yeah.
10, we can use a blanket unscheduled limit, which is just as it sounds. You pick the total dollar amount of coverage that you want. 50,000, 100,000, 500,000, and coverage isn't tied to any single item. So as you buy and sell, it's automatically covered up to 10 per item. Optics and guns are considered separate because they are interchangeable. So you could have a $7,500 rifle and $7,500 scope, and you're fine under the blanket coverage because you have up to 10,000 on each one. But yeah, long and short to answer the question, pick up the phone and call us. We love spending the 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. You get my dad on the phone, might be a half hour, 5 minutes about gun insurance, and 25 minutes about the current political situation in our country. But we do every policy that comes through, even if someone doesn't talk to us, we review it, and usually we'll make changes for the client's best interests. Give you an example: $200,000 in coverage costs more than $250,000 in coverage. That extra 50,000 triggers a rate break. So I love sending emails. Someone buys $200,000 and, hey, FYI, I'm refunding your card, $75, and I added 50,000 coverage for it. We haven't gotten to where we have because we don't take it seriously, and we don't look out for our clients' best interest in this.
Yeah. And that's important because, like you said, gun owners, word of mouth, it goes a long way. So you hit the next like 3 big things that I wanted to talk about there, but I just want to reemphasize, and I know you've said it a lot. You don't have to make a list unless anything is over 10K. It's inexpensive, especially compared to what you're going to get quoted from like State Farm, whatever the big ones are. And you do not have to call every time you go buy a gun. Sweet.
Do you have to have a receipt? Like say that I got insurance and then I had, because sometimes I don't have receipts if I've bought from other people, or some of my guns are.
I don't have receipts on most of my firearms, and a lot of people are the same way
Yeah.
for the same reasons. No, I mean on a theft claim, you do have to file a police report on it. I believe it's a federal requirement on any stolen gun, but you're going to provide that information to the police on just about any other claim short of the sunken boat. There's going to be, on breakage, you're still going to have the gun, which shows ownership. On even in a fire, that we've seen that there's some sort of metal left over after it.
Yeah.
Insurance fraud is can happen in any way, shape, and form. But with this, one, the trustworthiness of our clientele in general, but 2, I mean, it's usually pretty easy to rebuild what someone had or recreate what someone had. We do suggest, especially if you're using the blanket limit, to take pictures, videos, kind of the collection as a whole, and keep it in a couple locations, put it in the cloud if you're comfortable. Put an email to your brother. The gun list and the paper copy in the safe doesn't really do a lot of good if the safe is destroyed. So try not to do that. I mean, we do have a lot of said we renew 97%. 1 or 2% of our churn is because we have older clients in this, and it's just through mortality. So just even the older generation, my dad, whatnot, they know how, they have a phone, or they have a daughter or a wife that can take some pictures for you and get it stored somewhere.
Yeah, that's good advice, is just to make sure that you know what you have if it's insured, even if nobody else does. Like even when I was getting ready for my policy, and I thought that I did a pretty good job of keeping my my list up to date, and I went through it, and like there's guns in there I forgot about, and all sorts of wild stuff like that. So definitely make sure you keep your own records good.
Kind of another follow-up to that. Under that unscheduled coverage, when we don't know anything about the gun come claim time, so the valuation that you're going to get, the language reads fair market value. Well, we don't know if that gun is in 90% condition or 100% condition. And the fair market value, how if you look at Blue Book, I mean, you're looking at a 50-60% difference in valuation, based on those conditions. So
Yeah.
anything under 10 that's unscheduled, we take a combination of one, customer's word, this is what I had, this is a model, make, serial number. What is going for now? Is there comparable on Guns International, Gun Broker, auction that is close to 100% condition for guns that are no longer in production? Guns still in production, fair market value turns out to be cost to replace new. But yeah, that $10,000 cap per item is on there because our carrier on this, Hanover, they're large enough company that they don't need a nickel and dime over $600-700, $1,000 valuation differences on these guns. I mean, like I said, it's a very profitable class of business. We close to 100% of clients don't have a claim in a given year, so it's not a ton of claims that they'd have to deal with. So they don't risk a bad faith claim over $1,000 valuation on an unscheduled gun.
So we're a little bit past the midpoint of the show. Remember, if you're watching us live on Facebook, ask any questions you may have in the comments section of the video. We'll ask it live on air. Other ways to catch us, you can always check back on the Shooter's Mindset Facebook page. The videos all stay up there forever, and we usually upload to all the podcast apps the night after the show. Then finally, everything eventually ends up on the Shooter's Mindset YouTube page, so that's a great place to look up past episodes. And we've done a lot of skipping around.
We've done a ton of skipping around.
Yeah, we had notes, but we're going all over the place. We're gonna kind of just like rapid fire questions for the rest of it. Look and see.
You want to run through, if we're trying to kill some time, go through some different claims that we've seen?
Let me go
Hit me
through
with the strange one.
What's that?
You mentioned a boat, but hit me with a strange one.
Yeah, what's
you
the
just
weirdest claim you've ever
Yeah.
gotten?
I mean, are we off air right now?
No, we're definitely on the air.
We are definitely still live.
All right, for clients, I don't know if I can disclose it or not, but so I won't. But some of I'll give some of the bigger claims and losses that really it's why you purchase the coverage to begin with. Had a client who former chief of the fire department, retired, lifetime fire service career, had $700,000 collection of primarily older pre-World War I, pre-World War II, close to pristine condition. It's a significant collection, and he only carried a $300,000 policy with us. The first one he ever bought because it was too expensive, but he had roughly half of what the total collection was worth insured. Had a vault in his basement. Well, a lot of vaults, even if someone does have them, concrete walls all the way around, concrete floor, they don't have a concrete ceiling always on them. The house was completely destroyed, total loss from the insurance, his regular homeowner's carrier. But all the water by fire department trying to put out the flames.
Oh no.
By the time that comes through the floor, the chemicals and whatever, wood and paint and soaks through those guns, especially dealing with older, close to pristine guns. He was able to get them cleaned up over a couple of weeks as best as possible, but it's a lot of chemical and water and corrosion and rust that can happen on it.
Yeah.
Hanover paid out full limits loss on it, $300,000, no questions asked. I say no questions asked. It took a little longer just because he had to recreate actually what he had, what he was claiming as damage, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, he was able to keep his whole collection. We paid the diminished value on what the gun was worth, you know, at 95% condition to what it dropped down to now at 90% or 87% because of, you know, some of the water and corrosion that occurred. So I mean, it can truly happen to anyone. That's, you know, don't see a lot of fires, period, but
Yeah.
we've had several of them. Another guy recently, you know, carried $50,000 worth of coverage and had more in guns than he does in other property, and lifetime investment of them, and, you know, whole house fire destroyed. And yeah, it's going to make him whole. $175. That's, you know, $50,000 that he wouldn't have had. So it does happen. You know, total losses happen. Flood, we cover flood damage. We've had water, same thing, water damage where guy didn't realize where we had the guns, some of them stored, and by the time it got to them, they're damn near disintegrated. Is so it acts of nature occur, breakage, whether a
Yeah.
gun gets wind blows a umbrella and knocks a $20,000 Krieghoff off the rack, and, you know, cracks a $7,000 winning stock. It happens. FedEx can lose or deliver a package to a wrong address, purposely or not purposely. So we designed it again. The big thing was a price point on it. It 35 years in the business, it was uninsurable to cover a lot of guns, because you could go 3, 4, 5, 6 years and, you know, risk it, and the money you save would, you know, replace a lot of those guns. But rates that we can charge on this and still do it profitably, it truly makes sense to a lot of individuals to cover them.
Yeah, once I finally saw, I guess, how much coverage it is and how easy it all looked, I was like, this is dumb not to have, especially with a lot of the other things. You know, the covering of of tax stamps, and, you know, it's like, you know, just kind of made for us. What's another thing in there? Friends guns. So, like, let's say that you do have somebody else's expensive rifle in your passenger seat and somebody runs into you when you're on a bridge. Like, if that happened and I was in possession of somebody else's gun, is there coverage for that as well?
For guns, we have it, and we see it the other way around too, kind of for a loaner gun where you're letting someone test drive it, for lack of better words, before they buy it. Yes, we do. It's another thing like the tax stamps where we're going to limit the coverage on it. So we have an extension that gives for guns owned by others, we'll give up to $25,000 for guns that are in your custody or control that are owned by others. We'll see that a lot of times. You know, you're flying to a shoot and you have your buddy drive your guns with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So yeah, we try to think through, you know, for, you know, competition shooter, hunter, sportsman, what are the common scenarios that you're going to see. And, you know, didn't get Hanover agree to everything we wanted to, but got them to come pretty close to it, to tailor it to the shooting sportsman.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure everyone here has done that, exactly what you just described, driven guns up for someone to match. And like we were saying earlier, you kind of know when someone is in the shooting sports when they think through that type of stuff.
You have to be. I mean, it doesn't do anyone any good if you're sitting there saying a lot of, well, just make sure you don't do this or make sure you don't do that. I mean, who wants to read through an insurance contract in the first place? But even if you do take the time to read through it, to try to understand it and how the language is carved, I mean, you're looking at, yeah, countless hours of lawyers billing $400 or $500 an hour
Yeah.
to put a word at one point of a sentence instead of another point in the sentence, just to convey
Yeah.
meaning.
What if
Because-
the natural disaster is me? Like, if I were to be competing and running up some stairs and fall and impale my gun between the two metal stairs, and it didn't break this time, but it could have.
We
Let's say
don't
again.
cover we don't cover cosmetic damage, so scratching and marring we don't cover. We do cover breakage, so cracked stock, cracked optics, cracked barrel. We actually give for explosion or while firing a gun, we build in a $5,000 sublimit for blowing of a barrel. So whether it's a wrong reload or just it just happens. We do give
That was my
$5,000
next question.
blowing of a barrel, and we've paid several of those claims. More so on shotguns, but it does happen.
You don't
Yeah,
insure a guy named Kentucky Ballistics, do you?
I don't think so. Not by
Oh, you'd know.
That was my next question was, do y'all cover squibs, that blow the gun up? So, yeah, interesting.
What else? Should point out, I mean, our lowest deductible that we have is $500, and that's per claim or per occurrence. So whether one gun involved in a claim or the whole collection, it's going to be $500 for the claim. A lot of people, if they're moving from a different carrier, they save that in the first year by itself, just in the rate. At this time, it will be amended in the very near future, but our entry policy that we write, the lowest limit is $20,000 in coverage. It's going to cost $130 a year. Our next level's 48,000 coverage, $175 for the year. Like I said, the rate does drop as the collection grows. So, $500,000 in coverage is $925 a year.
Yeah. For anyone that is curious, go get a quote with a normal like homeowners insurance and just compare the numbers that they give you. It is shocking how much better a specialty company like this is.
Well, I mean,
I have mine
go
covered.
get
but
a
it's
quote through the
like
the NRA endorsed program, and you're going to see it's $1.25 rate per 100.
Yep.
That same 20,000 in coverage. I mean, it's $250 a year for 50,000 in coverage. 625 compared to $175.
Mhm.
I-
I have on my homeowners, I have a rider, and when I looked at it, it was gonna be so expensive to do all of them, so I was like, well, I'll do the one I'm competing with the most, because if something were to happen traveling with it. But it had, has to have that scope on it. They wanted specifics, and so if it's not that
Yeah.
specific thing that happens to get stolen or, dropped over the edge of a boat, then I'm out of luck.
Frankly, I mean, it's criminal charging the rates they do for as long as they have, just by seeing just seeing the actuarial data and the claims on this. I mean, there's no justification other than, just the paperwork that they have in it, the subsidizing other, insureds, or, frank laziness it could be, or they need to charge that much just to make ends meet. But it's not what the loss history actually dictates on this demographic or this segment. Guns that you do schedule, you schedule a gun for 10,000. We have a built-in extension that gives you an additional 25% if the stated limit is insufficient. So, gun appreciates over 3 years. Now costs 12,500 to replace instead of 10. We'll cover that difference. Lot of different givebacks, like that for, designed for the shooting sportsman.
Very cool. Anybody watching live have any last minute questions? If so, get them in quick.
No. No, I think it's guys wanting to see if they'll get their 6 Creed barrels covered if they burn the house.
Shoot, that'd be one fast way to put them out of business is by covering barrel
Uh,
burns.
No, thank you.
Oh,
Yeah, I
there's
think we're
one
good on
more
mods.
from Andrew earlier that we missed. Any reason why you guys don't cover reloading equipment?
It's already covered under your homeowner's policy, under personal property without a limitation. Actually, ammo is too, but again, trying to get them to write a check for 10,000 rounds is a different question. That's something that in the very near future we should have included on there just as a throw in. But at this time we don't. We should be able to cover both ammo and reloading equipment in the very near future, but I can't give an exact date yet.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. It looks like we're good with live questions.
All right. Well, I think before we wind it down to shout outs, so just to recap, if anybody came in here late, if someone is interested in looking to get insurance, should they call you? Should they go online and start filling out a form? Go, just tell us that real quick so everybody can hear it one more time.
All the above. If you've got 10 minutes, you go to the FAQ page on the website. Yeah, probably have your question answered, but like I said, we're always more than happy to. We get calls returned usually same day, usually within a couple hours, but certainly by the next day. Send us an email. You'll get responses back at all hours of the night. I got a 10-month-old boy, so a lot of my responses do come in the middle of the night. But pick up the phone, email, scroll through the website, and we'll be happy to help, or at least give our, we can tell you whether we're a fit for you or not for whatever reason. I mean, the beauty of it is any one client isn't going to make or break us here. So I'd rather have someone treated right, instead of earning 60, $70 on it, whatever it turns out to be. It goes a lot further to do the right thing by people.
Very true, very true. All right, well, I think we can wind it down to shout outs. We will start with Corey.
Oh man, I'm gonna shout you guys out for holding down the fort last week when I couldn't make it. I know it's hard with 2 people, so thank you for doing that.
No problem. Anytime. We did miss you though.
Oh, sweet.
Did you feel
Maybe
missed?
not whole truth.
We did. It was like, well, I was about to say in our co-host of the hour, and I was like, but we only have one. Corey's not here. I was like, oh, it's very sad. Greg, what you got for shout outs?
Well, I will shout out my Hunter's HD Gold shooting glasses that apparently are not covered on my insurance policy, but it's okay because they're pretty freaking solid. They make them out of the same thing as they make jet cockpits out of, so I'll be good.
All right. And how about you, Cole? You got any shout outs?
Yeah, I'll give some of our, for lack of better words, our pro staff a little plug. Some of the best shotgun shooters out there, and clinics as well. Ricky Marshall Jr., Todd Bender, and Paul Jimbrone, all great guys. And if you want to learn how to shoot some trap, great guys to go to. And I'll throw in as well, because we'll be coming out this week, the U.S. Olympic shooting team that was just assigned. We joined a partnership with them on that will be released. So hopefully they'll do what they do best and represent us here in the coming Olympics.
That's super cool. Congrats on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very awesome. All right, and for me, I just want to shout you out for you and your dad for filling, I think, what was a very big hole in our industry with, not having affordable insurance for our quite expensive hobbies, because it can get expensive. And I know I've seen people that have had thefts or, things. I've seen people put their rifle at the rifle match and then a truck backs out and backs over it. So yeah, lots of things can happen. And so I think it was definitely a big hole there for affordable insurance with the toys that we like to play with. So thank y'all for filling that gap and being available out there and trying to keep it affordable for everybody. So,
Our pleasure.
and thank you for coming and spending a Tuesday evening with us so that everybody could kind of get the word out. And we'll definitely try and help spread the word for you on this. So with that, everybody check out Gun and Trophy, and that will be a wrap for episode 437. We'll see y'all next week.